I think that Ayers made chapter 6 the shortest chapter, even though it is so important, was because he wanted to make sure he got all the points of the chapter across without making it hard to follow or full of extra unneeded information. Many of the other chapters are full of lots of examples, where this one only included a few at the beginning. This chapter is also full of a lot of more facts and opinions compared to the others. I think that since we all have some kind of experience with standardized tests, Ayers knew readers would be able to relate. Therefore, he didn't need to include as many examples to help us understand what he was trying to tell us. The main points Ayers covered in this chapter were the stress behind standardized tests, how much they affect your future, how the tests are culturally biased, and more aimed for certain students to do well on. Teachers focus too much on these tests when alternatives are more beneficial, and how students and communities should set their own goals and standards. Ayers wrote a lot about the stress that these standardized tests cause students. They know that these tests are going to affect many aspects of their lives, one big one being where they can go to college. I personally have had many teachers tell my classes that the scores from our tests will come back to reflect them, and that they could get fired if we didn't do well. And being in late elementary and middle school, this caused so much more stress to do well. Next, these tests have been proven to be culturally biased and education a student's parents have can also affect how they do in school. The economic status of a student can affect the resources they have available to use. If all students are differently, why do we treat and test them all the same? On page 126, Ayers gives a perfect example of a fill-in-the-blank question about people sitting. The correct answer is that they were sitting on a porch. However, not all houses have a porch, so this is a biased question. Not all students know what a porch is if they've never seen one. Therefore, they would have gotten this question wrong. We focus way too much on teaching the tests instead of teaching valuable information and life skills. On page 129, Ayers talked about alternatives such as projects, portfolios, and performance. These alternatives show students skills and knowledge through them being able to do activities independently and by using their own strengths to show what they've learned. A lot of students graduate high school not knowing simple life skills because we focus too much on having them score high on these standardized tests. Lastly, the big main point covered in this chapter was how having a national test standard is not reasonable or beneficial across a diverse country and community. So much money is put towards these tests every year, which could be put towards something more beneficial for students, including extra resources. Every state and city is so diverse and different, and we shouldn't compare the test scores since the communities and knowledge are so different. That is why I agree with Ayers that we should not use standardized tests to determine a student's knowledge.